Hey everybody, this is Dan for GemmyD on Cars Now. I am back at Klick Lewis Chevy Buck here in Palmyra, PA, and if you know what this SUV is, you'll sense a theme here. I was just here last week to review a Ram TRX that had the Hellcat motor, and now I am back to sample the same motor in a different SUV. This is a 2018 Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk. This has the 6.2 liter supercharged V8 Hellcat motor, 707 horsepower, 645 foot-pounds of torque. This SUV will go 0 to 60 in like 3.7 seconds. This is quite simply the most powerful SUV ever built. So I'm gonna compare this to the TRX, which is sort of fresh in my mind. I know that's a big heavy truck and this is, you know, a family SUV. So we're gonna go over all the specs. We'll talk about the craziness of the Trackhawk. So let's take a look at the Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk. Now, lots of things like about this Trackhawk are pretty crazy. I mean, it starts at $90,000, but this one is a 2018, so I think it's on sale for about $82,000, which is a lot of money, but you get a lot of performance. Plus, it's a perfectly, practical family SUV. You can go to the track and rip off 3.5-second runs to 60, and then you can take your family and your kids, to the beach. It definitely has the practicality, but also the screaming supercharged V8 under the hood. Now, I said before, this is the most powerful SUV ever, and it is way more powerful than even like a Mercedes-Benz G65, which is a twin-turbo V12. That's only 620 horsepower. And then there's also the Porsche Cayenne Turbo SE hybrid. That's a 4-liter V8 plus a bunch of battery packs. That's like 675. But this is 700 horsepower in a family SUV. So, all right, let's talk about the styling. The styling of the Trackhawk. Now, I can't say I was ever a huge fan of the Jeep Grand Cherokee, but I used to drive, my buddy Will used to have a Grand Cherokee SRT. That had 475 horsepower, and that thing was insane. So this has 700, which is crazy too. Now, I like that this is sort of like a subtle, super SUV. There's not really too many cues on the outside unless you really know, if you see a Trackhawk, that it is a Trackhawk. And up front there's a couple here. This one has the 3 slits in the front bumper right there, just for more air intake, because you're going to need a lot of air, to get 700 horsepower on the ground. Now, there used to be fog lights too, but they got rid of those to make room for more air intakes. I mean, a 6.2 liter supercharged V8, you're going to need lots of air to get this thing going. Now, on the side of the thing, it says supercharged, and none of the other Grand Cherokees say supercharged. But just look at these Brembo brakes too. These are like 15-inch brakes up front with the yellow calipers. These Toyo Proxys tires. I mean, they look absolutely aggressive. It's a similar wheel, I think, to the SRT, and I think the back brakes are something like 13 inches. I mean, that is pretty huge. I mean, number one for an SUV, but a performance SUV. You also got the little air intakes in the hood. I think the SRT had that as well. I haven't been around one of these since my buddy Will's, but I think this color is beautiful too. It's called Red Velvet Pearl Coat, and you'll see my red shirt matches the car again, like I did with the TRX. But you sort of have the sort of gold looking trim on the front there. But yeah, this thing is an absolute monster. So moving around back. All right, moving around back, where there's a couple other things to distinguish the Trackhawk. Now, you do have the badge right there that says Trackhawk. Now, there's an off-road version of a Jeep Grand Cherokee that is called the Trailhawk, and that just sort of looks same configure as like that, but this is Trackhawk, because obviously this is a track-focused SUV. Now, another thing that gives away the Trackhawk for sure is the huge pipes right there. They're double duals, and they sound fantastic. I'll tell you what they sound like right here. But yeah, this is sort of just like a subtle, uber performance SUV. Not many SUVs go 0 to 60 in under 4, but not many SUVs also have, 700 horsepower. So there's really not too much to go over on the outside, other than this beautiful, beautiful color. You got still the same, you know, taillights as the normal Grand Cherokees. But yeah, this has been a very popular SUV, you know, in America, and now this sort of takes it and cranks it up to 10 and 11. This is the motor, the Hellcat motor, which this one looks a lot cooler than the TRX. That had that huge engine cover over it. But yeah, this is a 6.2 liter supercharged V8. It says supercharged Hemi on the side of it. I just love the way this looks, and I think this is like a 2.4 liter supercharger, which is absolutely massive. I mean, this is huge, and just look at this air intake. I mean, it's just monstrous. I mean, it's big, and it better be, because this will go 0 to 60 in like 3.6 in something that is like 5,500 pounds. I mean, it's just huge. So yeah, this is the ultra performance SUV from Jeep and Dodge. So FCA once again wants to put the Hellcat motor in everything, and I think they almost have by now. I mean, you're not going to get it in any other stuff. You got the Charger and the Challenger, and now the Ram and the Trackhawk. So yeah, that is the heart of the beast right there. So let's check out the interior. All right, we're going on the inside of the Trackhawk. Now you get a little kick plate right there that says supercharged, because that is, you know, what this SUV is all about, this Trackhawk version. But I just love this color interiors. I don't know what exactly it's called, but I call it like the peanut butter interior. It just looks so good with the carbon fiber trim on the door, which is on the door and then on the inside. So let's check it out. And these seats are absolutely so comfortable. There's a lot going on at this dealer, so I wanted to get in here, but let's start it up. Yeah, it just sounds so good. And we've got a low fuel light, and just the idle of this thing, I could just feel the whole thing like rumbling. I'm sure it's tough to come across in the camera. So another thing about the Grand Cherokee is that I was never really that crazy about like the design in here, and there's nothing, you know, that's just a personal preference. By the way, on the bottom of the steering wheel, it says Trackhawk. That is just awesome right there. Flat bottom steering wheel. We have an 8-speed transmission with the paddle shifters. We got 4-wheel drive. Now down here, you got launch control right there, and there's where you can change the drive modes. You got auto, sport, track, snow, and tow. So, I mean, this is still a family SUV that you can tow stuff. You can, you know, do all the normal stuff you do with, I'll say, quote unquote, normal Grand Cherokee. So a couple cool things about this infotainment system, which I'm not the craziest about this whole setup. There's nothing wrong with it. It just seems sort of okay, but I do love the carbon fiber trim, which goes everywhere on the doors and on the center console right there and on the dash. I mean, that looks fantastic. But the SRT and the Trackhawk here have what's called Dodge's or Jeep's performance pages. Performance pages loading. Now, one thing that's cool, when you go to the main screen, this Uconnect apps, you can move anything up here down to the bottom if you want it down there. I think you can do that with a bunch of different stuff. But if we go to the performance pages, all right, the performance page is finally loaded, but there's a couple cool things in the center screen that you can get into. This is like a real-time display of all your power and everything. If I get on the gas just a little bit, you know, let's just say gauges. Yeah, intake air temperature, a bunch of stuff that you need to use. G-force meter, engine. Yeah, the red is in the power. I think as you go and you're driving, it'll go up, you know, on these little dials, which is kind of cool. So this is definitely a performance-oriented, you know, SUV. There's a bunch of stuff that, you know, is listed there, but who cares? If you drive this, you really just want to know all the stuff about your engine and the dyno. I mean, there's all the stuff that'll show you all your drive modes. Your paddle shifter's off, eco's on. That takes away the launch control. But yeah, there's suspension street. There's just lots of customization, which is pretty cool, because if you buy this SUV, you are going to use it as a performance SUV for sure. A couple different things on the screen right there too. You can go over driver assist. Let's see, your reaction time, your quarter-mile timer. But yeah, there's launch control right there in a huge family SUV. Sport, let's see if it changes when you get to sport. Yeah, and track, which that's got to be the stiffest everything. So we're going to go back to normal. But yeah, the layout is decent. I just think this generation of Grand Cherokee is just getting a little bit long in the tooth. You know, it's been around for a long time. You got the nice panoramic sunroof in the back and Trackhawk on the seats right there. So the quality is here, and it better be if you're paying this sort of price. And I feel like I'm saying the same exact things that I said when I was in the Trackhawk or the TRX. But yeah, everybody has always been a fan of Grand Cherokees, and this SUV is no exception. It just has a monster engine. So let's check out the back seat. All right, checking out the back seat. Now this is where it is still decent. I mean, this is a family-oriented SUV. You still got the nice, it's almost like an Alcantara in between, you know, the peanut butter leather, which looks really good. Now I had the seat where I was driving, and it's a little bit tight, but you know, as an adult, I don't think I'd be back here for a crazy long time. So it is still a decently sized SUV. I love this interior. This color is sort of what I was going for with my Bronco. It's called Roast. I don't know exactly what this is called. So yeah, there's decent space back here. You still have the carbon fiber and the peanut butter on the doors. So overall, it's pretty decent. All right, let's check out the trunk. All right, checking out the trunk. If you just do a double tap on the key right there, it automatically goes up. So again, this is still a family SUV, and the space back here is very decent. I mean, this is actually pretty damn big. You've got the Harman or the Bang & Olufsen sound system back here. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, this definitely compares well, you know, with other cars in the class, which there's not too many in this class, but I will flash on the screen how it compares to the Porsche and the G-Wagon. Now, there's a couple ways you can look at this Trackhawk. Compared to the other two cars that I mentioned, the G65, which is something like $220,000 to start, and the Cayenne Turbo S E-Hybrid, that's something like at least $170,000. This has got to be a performance bargain, because this car is a couple years old. It's a 2018, but it is on sale for $82,000. That is literally half as much as the next, you know, competitor, we'll say, in this class. And I don't even know if you would put this in the same class overall, but the performance is way more. But also for $82,000, you could get something like, you know, a BMW X7 with a big V8 and have a little bit more space. But you know, somebody that buys this SUV is going to want to have the ultimate performance SUV, and this sort of is that. I mean, definitely not as luxurious as the German counterparts, but this is still a monster SUV, the most powerful SUV ever made. And if you are interested in this SUV, you can come to Klick Lewis Chevy Buck and buy this on sale. So I will put their website right there. Now we're gonna get this thing on the road. I'm gonna go get some gas first, because I feel like I'm gonna be going through quite a bit. So we're gonna get it out on the road and see what it's like as a road car, which I'm very excited. I know how crazy the TRX was, but this SUV has the same engine. It's gonna be pretty crazy too. So if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at GemmyD on Cars. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. See ya.